We got shirts on sale. Express your love for the evolutions and the new channel rebrand with an evolution t-shirt and hoodie. On sale now. Also, if you like anime, go check out our anime channel MysticSage for awesome anime content. And be sure to follow me on social media so you can stay caught up with the channels and me. Links will be in the description below. Today, I'm going to be starting a brand new series, taking a dive into ranking the top 10 Pokemon of a certain typing. As you guys know, I've gone through a best team for all 18 typings, given you my opinions on all 18, and even ranked them all from worst to best. It seems like the logical thing to do next will be to dish out what I believe to be the top 10 Pokemon of each typing, starting of course with dragons. I put together this list taking a lot of things into account, and considering the typing we're dealing with here, I try my best to not load it down with legendary Pokemon. Unfortunately, nearly every dragon is a legendary Pokemon or a pseudo, but I feel the list I've put together is very indicative of the best of the dragon typing has to offer, without just being a list of legends. So let's get right into things with the Pokemon that swam its way into the number 10 spot, Sword and Shield's Dracovish. This one might catch a few of you by surprise, but I assure you that the placing of Dracovish on this top 10 is actually well deserved, and I'd say it is the best water/dragon type out there, even better than Palkia. Those two typings coming together is actually fantastic for Dracovish, as it limits its weaknesses to just other dragons and fairy types. Now admittedly, its stat pool isn't the most incredible out there, with 100 defense being the highlight of everything, though it does have a decent 90 HP and 90 attack as well. There is room for a little bit of physical bulk here, and obviously a chance to bite back, and its ability Strong Jaw provides a great chance to take bite out of the opponent. It's got access to a move called Fishkiss Rend, and when used if Dracovish attacks first in battle, the base power of the move shoots up to 170, and when you add in Stab to that, it'll go up further to 255 base power. Though it wouldn't stop there, as it'll get another big boost from Strong Jaw that'll give it a massive base power of 382. This isn't even including it being used in the rain or a choice spell on Dracovish, which will of course make that hit even harder, and suddenly it becomes one of the best wall breakers of all time in Pokemon, and it's merely just a fossil. Coming up next in the number 9 spot is one of the few non-legendary dragons introduced in the 3rd generation, Altaria. This one I'm sure is going to make a few of you scratch your heads, but as a dragon-type Pokemon, Altaria is actually really good. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I don't want this to just be a list comprised of mostly legendary Pokemon, as that wouldn't be a very fun one to put together. So Altaria is one of those Pokemon that got a little bit of a bump due to me trying to include some other really good dragons. That being said, it actually is in general better than some of the legendary Pokemon, and a big part of that is its Mega Evolution. Altaria gains the Fairy typing when it Mega Evolves in exchange for its Flying typing, and suddenly it becomes the biggest threat to other Dragon types to exist. Altaria gets the ability Pixelate, which turns all of its normal type moves into Fairy type moves, and with 110 base attack and special attack, it can turn to moves like Return and Hyper Voice that deal some incredibly lethal Fairy type damage to dragons, and several other typings as well. It can't be affected by other Dragon types at all, so it'll defeat most other ones as long as they're not Poison, Steel, or Ice types. Altaria is really freaking good, and it being the only fairy dragon when it Mega Evolves is a big reason why it managed to crack this top 10 ahead of others. Coming in at number 8 is yet another Pokemon from Sword and Shield, one of my personal favorites of the generation, Dragapult. You guys know just how good Dragapult can be in-game, and competitively it's definitely found itself a spot on quite a few teams. Dragapult is one of the fastest Pokemon in the meta, and definitely one of the fastest Pokemon actually available in Sword and Shield. The fact that it's Dragon Ghost typing is really cool, and albeit there are some weaknesses that get added on because of the Ghost typing, that doesn't change the fact that it's a good typing that a Pokemon like Giratina has taken advantage of in the past. Also, on top of having such a fantastic speed stat, its physical attack is pretty good too at 120 base, and that opens it up to some great possible movesets. There's one that is particularly good, being Hex, Will-O-Wisp, Dracometeor, and U-Turn, thus proving that even though its attack is better than its special attack, it's a smart move to run it as something like a mixed attacker. Its speed is a huge part of why it's here on the list, but it's incredibly versatile in battle as well, and that can definitely go a long way in the world of dragon types, where so few actually end up with meta-breaking speed stats. We now move on to number 7, and this spot is taken by one of the most popular Dragon-type Pokemon of all time, Garchomp. There is a lot to be said about just how good Garchomp is, and how consistently good it has stayed over the generations. It's got two of the best typings available in Dragon and Ground, and it's definitely been given a move pool that makes the most of its stab and provides it with more than enough coverage for its weaknesses. It's got a base 130 attack stat, which is incredibly high, and even maintains good speed at 102 base, making it one of the best speedy physical attackers that aren't legendaries. However, things are definitely a bit better for Garchomp when it Mega Evolves. That really good 130 base attack, well, it goes and boosts that base 130 attack up to 170, making it an even more powerful physical attacker. In fact, even being one of the strongest in the game. Though in an unfortunate trade-off, it loses a bit in the speed department, which is definitely to its detriment and causes a lot of trainers to shy away from using it over the non-Mega Evolve form. People have been calling upon Garchomp for its Earthquake for generations, and it is able to take down some of the best Pokemon in the game when set up. If you're a Pokemon that can absolutely tear through Steel types, you've got a place on a competitive team more often than not. There's not much more to say here, other than it's Garchomp. It's fantastic, and it's been for a very long time. We now reach the number 6 spot on this list, which goes to possibly the most important Pokemon in Unova, Kyurem. This Pokemon is definitely one of the best dragon types out there, and its multiple forms each offer a great perspective into how good it is. When Kyurem is in its regular form, it boasts 130 in attack and 130 special attack. However, with Kyurem Black or Kyurem White, it sees those stats jump to either 170 in attack or special attack. The sheer number of options that you have with the different forms of this Pokemon is pretty high, and that made it a pretty easy candidate for the top 10 when I was putting this together. There are many good moves that Kyurem can use across its forms as well, like Draco Meteor, Ice Beam, and Earth Power. It can also see some mileage as a Pokemon that sits at moves like Stealth Rocks, and even Substitute, to allow its incredibly high attack stats to tear through an opponent. I mentioned this before too, but Kyurem has access to Dragon Dance now, and that only opens up the possibilities even more. Kyurem is very much a jack-of-all-trades sort of Pokemon, so the opportunities are endless with it to fill different roles on almost any team. Its appearance is a bit cool too, by the way, and that was definitely a pun. It totally does look like an almost incomplete Pokemon, really selling the fact that it used to be something else entirely. When Black or White Kyurem becomes the prominent form, it definitely looks a lot more like a completed Pokemon though. We move on now to the top 5, and we're going to be starting off with the premier non-legendary dragon, Salamence. Salamence is incredibly good and excellently balanced, as an attacker with great speed. It's got 135 base attack, 110 base special attack, and 100 base speed. All of those coming together to turn it into one of the best dragon types Pokemon has ever seen. It gets access to a wide variety of good flying and dragon type moves like Outrage and Aerial Ace, and some other non-stab moves that are just great to have like Earthquake and Stone Edge. Really, just the sheer power it has and its great move pull, alongside a duo of good abilities in Intimidate and Moxie, are enough to keep it here in the top 10, but its position in the top 5 is cemented by its Mega Evolution. When Salamence Mega Evolves, all hell breaks loose in a battle. Mega Salamence has got Aerial Ace as an ability, and that will turn all of its normal type moves into flying type moves, in the same vein as the Mega Altaria we talked about earlier with Pixelate. Salamence's attack stat shoots up to 145, and its defense even improves by a staggering 50 points, up to 130, providing it with excellent bulk. Its speed goes up even more as well, and when Salamence is able to turn to moves like Double Edge and Return, that suddenly becomes a stab and flying move, it turns into one of the scariest Mega Evolutions of all time. There's so much raw, unmitigated power that radiates from this Pokemon in battle, and thus it needed to open up the top 5. Coming up next, we've got one less dragon Pokemon from Sword and Shield, the gigantic Pokemon, Eternatus. Now, just to get this out of the way, I am not counting its Eternamax form, at all. It isn't even available to be used, and quite frankly, it's a ridiculously broken Pokemon in a much different way than the other boss Pokemon that have come before it. Anyway, Eternatus is one of the most bulky and speedy special attackers that have ever existed, with 145 in special attack, 140 in HP, and 130 in speed. It's a much better poison dragon type than Dragalge, offering it some great coverage against fairy types. It also has the move Dynamax Cannon, and that serves as a tremendously useful counter to all Dynamax Pokemon, as its 100 base power doubles to 200 when used against them. There isn't really a lot that I can say about Eternatus right now due to how new it is, but I maintain the fact that it's just an incredibly strong Pokemon that represents the dragon type really well as a powerful counter to both fairies and the newest mechanics in the franchise. Opening up our top 3 is another legendary Pokemon, the one you'll find on the cover of Pokemon Diamond, the Steel Dragon Dialga. Fun fact by the way, Duraludon, Dragapult, and Dracovish are all new Pokemon that were introduced in Gen 8, and they all shared their typings of Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina. Just figured I'd be the first to let you know for sure that Gen 4 is definitely confirmed. Anyway, the biggest reason that Dialga finds itself all the way up here on the list is due to its absolutely incredible typing. When you send a Steel Dragon type out into battle, you find yourself weak to only 2 things: ground and fighting types. Its attack and defense are both at 120, and its special attack is a tremendous 150, clearly meaning it's a special attacker. Though even with how tremendous of an attacker Dialga is with moves like Roar of Time and Flash Cannon at its disposal, it can also be a great Pokemon for its defensive properties. I was just talking about Eternatus being an absolute legend for its ability to stand against fairy types, and well, Dialga honestly does it even better. It can't be touched for super effective damage by other dragons, fairies, ice types, none of them. It'll tear down almost any other typing as well with one of its 2-stab moves, with no Pokemon actually being able to resist both, only one or the other. I feel that perhaps when discussing dragon Pokemon in maybe a more modern sense, that Dialga is often forgotten about, but I see it as a true diamond in the rough. Man, I'm throwing out all the puns today, aren't I? So, our penultimate Pokemon is definitely a little bit of a different sort of entry. See, this Pokemon becomes a dragon type. It doesn't exactly start as one. However, because it'll become a dragon type, it still counts even as a form. I'm of course talking about Alola's Ultra Necrozma. Right off the bat, it's got some insane stats, the total being 754, which is one of the highest in all of Pokemon. Its 167 in both attack and special attack are insane, and it even packs a great speed stat at 127 base. It's got a great ability in Neuroforce, which makes any of its super effective moves 1.25 times stronger. Ultra Necrozma has access to some insane moves as well, 2 of them being its signature moves, Proton Geyser and Prismatic Laser. And on top of that, there are plenty of other great moves by level up and TMs. Though I'd have to say its best move is definitely Light That Burns the Sky, the Z moves it gets from the Ultra Necrozium Z Crystal. It is going to be stab boosted to 300 base power, it will not miss, and it ignores all abilities that can actually be ignored. It's a fantastic Z move, and really a big part of what makes Ultra Necrozma so good. Also, in case you guys don't agree with me, think back to when you played Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and this absolute unit gave you guys the business in battle. It was more than just its boosted stats that give you a hard time, trust me. Now we have finally reached what I consider to be the best Dragon-type Pokemon. I'll be completely honest with you guys, this Pokemon might even be one of the best, period. It's got what I believe to be the strongest Mega Evolution, some incredible moves in its pool, and one of the greatest designs of all time for a legendary. I'm of course talking about the incomparable Rayquaza. The God of the Sky is without a doubt in my mind the best Dragon-type Pokemon, and I feel like a lot of you guys may agree with me on this one. Rayquaza has 150 in both attack and special attack before it Mega Evolves, and 180 in both afterward. Its speed goes from 95 to 115 as a Mega, and its already great ability Airlock turns into Delta Stream as well. Rayquaza was already such a great dominant Pokemon that became so great upon Mega Evolving that they had to flat out be banned from all competitive play. It can be a great physical or special attacker, having access to moves like Outrage, Earthquake, and Aerial Ace on the physical side, while seeing even better moves like Draco Meteor and Air Slash on the special side. I don't even really need to take this any further, because honestly, I probably could have stopped at the part where I brought up that it was so good and broken that it was banned. Rayquaza is the true king of dragons, and without a doubt, the best one in Pokemon. Well, there you have it folks, the top 10 strongest Dragon-type Pokemon in my opinion. It was a tough one putting this list together, but ultimately, I'm very satisfied with how it came out. I bet we've all got differing opinions on the best of this popular typing though, so I'm really dying to see what yours are in the comments below. Let me know and I'll for sure take a look. Oh, and before I forget, comment down below and let me know which typing you want to cover in the next top 10. I'm leaving it up to you guys, so please let me know. Whichever one is the most popular and gets the most upvotes will be the next video in this series. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream all sorts of games from Pokemon, to Fire Emblem, to Zelda, and much more. I also have an anime channel called MysticSage, where I do anime reviews, rankings, and countdowns. So if you're interested in that kind of content, go ahead and check that out as well. If you want to support me even further and gain cool perks, check out my Patreon. These lovely people have all given me their support over there, and I couldn't be more grateful to them. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.